Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to yet another episode of an Evolved Review. Tonight is actually an Evolved Preview. I am your host, James Caleb Kitchens, and tonight for this very special edition, I'm joined by none other than Quentin Ace Ficklin. You may know him as Superhero Homie Q. You may know him as the Ace of Professional Wrestling. It just depends on where of the many places you can hear his voice that you know him from. Straight from the Superhero Homies, man. Welcome back to the show.
Thank you for having me, brother. I appreciate you again having me on, and really looking forward to this episode.
And I just want it for the record stated that yet again, there's no one dying or being abused or anything like that. So you got some credit here. Dark Side of the Ring season 4. I'm gonna be bringing you up.
Well, just for the record, for some of the things we discussed tonight, they may still involve some type of death.
That's true. And as a matter of fact, I actually we finished up our season 3 Dark Side of the Ring coverage earlier today. We just put out our steroid trial episode. Very good episode. It was really enlightening. So definitely go check that out. It's already anywhere that you can get your podcast, Facebook, YouTube, if you want to see the video. And then it's on all the audio platforms as well, just like this episode will be. So today we are previewing Disney Plus Day. So if anybody's at home listening or watching and wants to know exactly what that is, so Disney Plus Day, this is only, I believe, the third one, because this marks what, 3 years Disney Plus? I may be wrong, maybe two.
I think it's 2.
So this is only the second one then.
Yeah.
So if you don't know what it is, you could definitely be forgiven for that because it's only the second one. So what this is this is sort of Disney's day to basically do all their announcements for 2022. I think last year it was exclusive to things that were coming out on Disney Plus mainly, but this year it's probably going to be everything Disney across all of their multiple platforms that they have.
Yeah, and I think this is like a really exciting thing that they're doing because they obviously have a lot of irons in the fire. But I think that the lineup is pretty amazing. I think that the things they have set up is going to be amazing. Then there's always the speculation portion that is equally fun.
Yeah, I mean, and that's really how the episode is going to break down tonight. We're going to have two different sections. So, first thing we're going to talk about is the things that are confirmed, right? This is going to be everything we know 100% we're getting. And then after that, then we're going to get into territory where we really don't know what we're talking about. We're just guessing based on things that we can dig up all over the interwebs. So we're saving you guys the trouble of doing that at home.
Yeah, that's always the fun part. That and the part where I pretend that I know what I'm talking about.
Well, for a couple of these sections, some of this stuff's right in your wheelhouse, some of it not. I will go ahead and warn you guys, we are going to talk about some of the Hulu content, some of the ESPN content, and some of the National Geographic content. But if you watch my show or your show, you'll know that Marvel and Star Wars is really more of our wheelhouse, and so
Yes.
that's going to be the heavy focus tonight. I do want to give us a spoiler warning. We're not going to spoil anything that's not out to be streamed yet. So, Shang-Chi or I'm sorry, Shang-Chi and Eternals, we won't have any spoilers there. We may say something like, oh, after Eternals, they're probably going to go in this direction, but there's not going to be any story spoilers for those films. Pretty much everything else is open game, man. If you haven't watched season 2, episode 3 of Clone Wars, you might get a little spoiled in there. I don't know. So
Well, they'll be all right.
it'd be okay. Yeah. Spoilers for the original Star Wars trilogy. Um, all right, so let's get into it, man. So Disney Plus Day is going to be on November 12th. We're recording this a week ahead. So this coming Friday, if you're listening to this day and date. So let's talk about the things that we're 100% confirmed getting. So this is stuff that Disney has announced 100%. This is going to happen on November 12th. I started here with the biggest thing. Obviously, this is a huge deal. Shang-Chi is coming to Disney Plus this coming Friday.
And I think that's a hell of a way to kick things off. I mean, that's a really smart move, if you ask me. Shang-Chi, I think, surprised everybody, or maybe I'm just projecting. It surprised me. I didn't expect the movie to be nearly as good as it was. And it seemed like I didn't just enjoy it, but virtually everybody enjoyed this movie. So them putting it on Disney Plus, because it was never even an option to rent it through Disney Plus.
Right.
So this is the first time period that people can get to see it outside of theaters.
Yeah, and I really like this approach that they're taking with it. And it's such a big deal because I think it's been in theaters like maybe 35, 40 days,
Mhm.
something like that. And yeah, I mean, it was universally loved, and I think, you know, I don't think I'm out of the ballpark here when I say that it's probably the most anticipated release since Endgame, at least in the MCU.
Yeah, that's a hell of a statement, but I can't think of any. I mean, I think Spider Man would probably beg to differ.
Well,
Uh,
so you mean Far From Home, right?
yes.
Not No Way Home. Yeah. So
Mhm.
yeah, I mean Far From Home. Here's the thing about that though, is
Mhm.
Far From Home was amazing, and everybody thought it was going to be great, and it was great. But with Shang Chi, it was an unknown, and it kind of took the
Yeah.
internet by storm.
Yeah.
And I think it's brilliant to go ahead and release this next week because while there are mixed reviews from Eternals and most audiences seem to really be enjoying it, it's kind of the opposite of an Iron Man 3 where audiences hated it and critics loved it. With
Right.
Eternals, critics are really hating it, and then audiences seem to be at least mostly enjoying it. But it's smart to put this here because when this hits streaming and like the people who maybe still aren't ready to go back to the theater or just didn't make it to the theater to see it for whatever reason, it's going to be all over the internet again. So it was kind of a backup plan just in case Eternals went really poorly.
Yeah, and it was a shot in the dark that worked for the best.
Right. Yeah. So the next title here we got coming along, Jungle Cruise, is also a very recent theatrical release, and it's going to be coming as well. And of course, that's got Emily Blunt and The Rock
The
in it,
Rock.
and that's those are heavy hitters.
Yeah. And like this is one of those movies where I gotta be honest, I was never gonna see in theaters. But I mean, if it's on Disney Plus, it may be one of those things where like if I ain't got nothing to do on a day off, I may have that on just to see what it's all about.
Right. Yeah. I mean, none of the previews looked good to me, and it's one of those movies where I go to the movies pretty often, and
Mhm.
it's one of those things where it's like I've seen the previews for it so many times that I feel like I've seen the movie already.
Right.
Um, but it seems like it's a fun movie, maybe just something to put on. I might be playing on my phone a little bit, but it seems like a good time. And there's a lot of people that are hyped for it, and I think it's probably a movie that kids would like.
Yeah, for me, it kind of gave me the vibe of like trying to recapture the energy or the essence of like the mummy. You remember how like that kind of had our generation hype back in the day because it was such a fun and creative joyride. I feel like Jungle Cruise is trying to kind of replicate that same type of energy.
Yeah, it's kind of that action adventure type thing, and you don't really see a whole lot of that. So yeah, I think it's exciting to say the least, and I think it'll do some gangbuster numbers for them on Disney Plus.
Yeah.
Regardless, just on those two things we mentioned, Disney Plus is gonna be booming for the next 2 weeks minimum.
Yes.
Um, okay, so let's talk about some stuff that's not released yet. Uh, and we'll probably dig into this a little bit. So we have Home Sweet Home Alone, which is gonna be they're calling it a new original movie, but they're also calling it the sixth movie in the Home Alone franchise. So I don't know how original that is, but um, I think there is a significant audience that is both middle aged, old, and young that would love a good Home Alone movie.
This does not look like one, but I do agree with your point. Uh, I would also like to point out that the timing of this movie is interesting because, correct me if I'm wrong, but Home Alone was one of the properties that was technically made and owned by Fox. And then, of course, we had the buyout, I guess 2 years ago now. And so, relatively speaking, this movie was put together fairly quick. So I do applaud them for that kind of quick turnaround time. Hopefully, the end result for this movie is a lot better than what the previews make it look like.
Yeah, I mean, I feel the same way about it. I'm just it doesn't. It's going to be so hard to capture that Macaulay Culkin magic because he really made those first two movies.
Yeah.
Um, you
Well,
know,
also and the what the wet bandits as well.
right, and
Yeah.
those movies, people forget those movies were edgy for children's films.
Yes.
They were
Yes.
very edgy for children's movies, especially during that time. It was
Right.
like I knew people who weren't, other kids that were not allowed to watch those movies because of some of the language and the content in them. And I just don't think, we know that Disney is not willing to go that edgy. We're probably going to prove ourselves wrong here in just a minute, um, because there is a complete what the fuck here coming up in just a second. Um, but I do want to say that this is directed by Dan Mazer, who, he did Borat and Christmas or Office Christmas Party and The Dictator, and I like one out of those three movies, so it could turn out to be okay. I think Archie Yates, who is the star of the movie, I think he's talented. He's
Was he
possibly
in
could be.
Jojo Rabbit?
Yeah, yeah, he was the kid
That's
in
right.
Jojo
Okay.
Rabbit. Yeah, yeah. So I think he's talented,
Yeah.
and as we know, a charismatic, talented actor can carry a bad script.
Yes.
Harrison Ford
Very
has
much
done it
yes.
many times.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
We are getting some new animated shorts. Disney's animation studios, Pixar included, are incredibly like just renowned around the world. A lot of people really love their animation. So we're getting Frozen Fever, which apparently has gotten a lot of kind of prestige around the world in some international markets and like film festivals. I am personally not very familiar with it. We are also getting a Olaf Presents um, animated short that's going to, of course, be Olaf from Frozen. So Disney is definitely still cashing in on the Frozen train, which they should. I mean, um, so that was interesting, but I also thought it was awesome that we were gonna get like a Disney Simpsons episode or special uh, that's gonna be kind of interesting because now that they're another acquisition from Fox, so now they're under that Disney banner and they can put any Disney characters that they want into the show.
Yeah, and I remember when you kind of sent me like a list of like the things that Disney was doing for the next episode, man. And I remember looking at that thinking that could be really interesting because on one hand, my first thought was this could be I don't know what Disney does with The Simpsons, but then I flipped my thinking and I was like, but I think I have an idea of what The Simpsons would do with Disney. And I think under that guise, it makes a lot more sense. And so I think that can be something that's really awesome if they have that same kind of creative energy they've had over the past couple decades.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it is like the longest running show ever.
Yeah,
So
take that, Vince McMahon.
that's right. There's some magic in there. Um, we're also getting, and this is something that is very interesting to me because Disney has done that sort of lightning in a bottle thing. So they have the World According to Jeff Goldblum, which is literally just a show where Jeff Goldblum comes on and talks about pretty much everyday things, right? And they've capitalized on just the presence and sort of the internet reverence of Jeff Goldblum.
I mean, the man has a charisma that is very unique and unlike anyone else.
Yeah,
Uh, I mean, honestly, like on like the surface level, it sounds like something that I'm not interested in, but I guarantee you, I would watch it and have like no quarrels with it. The only way that I think that this could be better for what they're trying to do would be if they just went ahead and made him like the Grand Master. Just go ahead and put him in the MCU get up and and yeah, just have him do the same thing, but just under the guise of that character, which was Jeff Goldblum.
right. It's almost to the point now where every character that he plays, he's just Jeff Goldblum. Not
Right.
that because he can't act, but because you don't really want him to be anyone else.
Yeah. Yeah.
And s-
He's enough.
yeah, so Jeff Goldblum fans, this is going to be a gold mine for you on the 12th because you're getting 5 episodes of season 2 in one day. Um, Yeah. Fuck off, Netflix. That's what they're saying. Um, so I'm very very interested in the next couple things here. We're getting a Boba Fett special because Boba Fett's show is coming up on December 29th. They just released a trailer for that a couple of days ago. Have you managed to see that yet?
Actually, I have not seen that trailer yet.
Okay, it's incredible.
Hmm.
It looks like we're getting sort of like a cross between The Wire and The Godfather, but like in the Star Wars underworld.
I mean, that sounds incredible.
It looks incredible. We're gonna get some really like intense stuff. I think some really cool scenes, and I honestly think that a lot of people that were wanting sort of a grittier Mandalorian story because originally when the Mandalorian came out, everybody thought it was gonna be about a bounty hunter, and it is, but
Mhm.
he doesn't do a lot of bounty hunting in the show because the show has become way more entrenched in like the general like Star Wars lore, which is fine, and everyone
Mhm.
loves Mandalorian. I mean, very few people don't. But this show is gonna, I think, give that really gritty, kind of edgy product. Obviously, it's still a Disney product. It's gonna be PG-13 at max, but I think we're gonna see some really good stuff, some really good effects. They're gonna be using the volume again. Um,
Oh,
so yeah,
I mean, they have to at this point. Nothing else will suffice.
well, they
Uh,
keep expanding it. So, I mean, eventually you're going to get to the point where the volume is like the size of a stadium and they can literally just put like whatever they want in there.
I mean, it's weird that it's kind of at this point it's just going to become the Danger Room from X Men.
Yeah. Yeah, that's almost what it is right now. I mean,
Yeah.
they're so far ahead of every other production studio on the planet. And if you don't know what we're talking about, go and watch the Disney Gallery on Disney Plus. They cover both seasons of Mandalorian 1 and 2, and they talked about like the making of it, and it's just a really awesome, especially if you're into like digital effects or film making type stuff. It's a really incredible documentary, and if you love Star Wars in general, it's still a great watch.
And I guess like back to the Boba special, for me, the reason I haven't seen the trailer yet is not because I'm not interested. It's because I really didn't need a trailer to see this show. Because I mean, for two reasons. One, Boba Fett, already he's been popular with the fan base for doing so little for 40 years.
Yeah.
Uh, so that's one thing, and the other thing is, I mean, we've like you already mentioned, we've already seen Mandalorian, and we know how great both seasons of that have been. So I have no reason to doubt that the Boba special or his show would be any different.
Yeah, and I think this show is probably, this special rather. I think the special is going to be more of like a documentary style thing. I think it's going to
Mhm.
be them talking about the origins of the character. We'll probably get some cool Boba Fett trivia because George Lucas originally did not intend for him to be, as popular as he was, but his popularity just kind of skyrocketed, pun intended. Um, he just he the kind of the mythology around him just really ballooned. Like fans really wanted to see more and more and more of him. And when the expanded universe materials came out, there was a lot of that. It was even enough to where they put a deleted scene back into A New Hope when they released the special editions.
Mm.
Where Boba was in A New Hope because originally his first appearance was in Empire Strikes Back.
Oh, see that's a tidbit that's interesting for me because I didn't see any Star Wars until I was like 22 years old, and so the version that I saw always had always had him in A New Hope. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that scene when they go up to the Falcon and Jabba's like waiting for him outside the Falcon and like Boba
Uh huh.
Fett's with him, that is not in the original film at all.
Wow. Well.
Yeah. Yeah, some nice trivia for you there. Um we're getting an MCU celebration special and I'm assuming that and this is I'm both hoping and assuming. They recently came out with a book about the kind of origins and the kind of the meta like story of the MCU, right? and there's been a lot of like tidbits that have kind of come out from that. There's tons of conversations with Kevin Feige in that book, and I'm hoping that this is going to be like a documentary style sort of movie of basically what's in that book, and they're going to talk about the MCU from the moment that term was coined, um, which was when they were planning the after credit scene from Incredible Hulk where Robert Downey Jr. shows up. Kevin Feige wanted a term that would denote that this is separate from Marvel Comics, but there is a continuity between the movies, and so
Mhm.
that's how the MCU, Marvel Cinematic Universe was coined. So it's going to be, I think, from that moment up to where we are right now, and it may even shed some light on the near future of the MCU.
Yeah, and I think that this is well deserved. I mean, something that we've said on the superhero homies time and time again is that the MCU has done something that's pretty unprecedented. No other studios have come close to doing or replicating what they've done. And so I think that it is actually kind of long overdue that we see something like this from them.
Yeah, yeah. I really do think that. I mean, I can listen to Kevin Feige talk about Marvel forever, right? And the reason that we like to listen to Kevin Feige talk about the MCU or just Marvel in general is because he is a fan first and foremost. I read a quote from him today, and he said one of his favorite things to do, and this comes off as like corporate speak, but in his case, it just happens to match up with how he really feels. He said one of his favorite things to do is to buy merchandise of his favorite characters, right? But then he went on to say that, in order to do that, in order for someone to want to do that and enjoy that process, you have to feel an incredible attachment to that character. Right. I mean, I can't tell you how much Ahsoka merchandise I own because when I see that character on something, I'm instantly like, I want that because it has this character on it. And in order for me to feel that way, I have to really love that character. Same with like T'Challa or Captain America
Mhm.
or anybody like that. And he's absolutely right.
Yeah, and that's part of like the magic there, part of the beauty that they've been able to do with the MCU over the past over 10 years, 12, 13 years now. So I think this is going to be pretty awesome what we get here. I mean, hopefully we get like some not so much tea sipping information, but hopefully some juicy tidbits that we maybe haven't heard. Like I really want to hear more about the semi acquisition of Spider-Man and about how that went down. That would be amazing.
Amy Pascal threw her sandwich at him.
Yes, yes, she did, and that recently came up again because I think there was a book release, right?
Yeah,
And
it was the book I was just talking
yeah,
about. It
that's
was
right.
in
Yeah,
there.
the
Yeah.
very same. Yeah, and it was brought up again in that, and that whole conversation is a different conversation for different time, but it still blows my mind that somebody's offering you a rope to safety, and you throw a sandwich at them. But yes,
Yeah, we could probably do an entire episode, probably on your show about that. Because it's just it's not every day that you hear somebody say, "Listen, we don't want any of the money or anything. You can do your own promotion. All we want to do is we want to make the story good because you guys suck."
yeah, you're right.
How often does that happen in corporate land? It doesn't. I mean,
No,
that was a move where it was like they purely did this because they knew it was something that the fans were craving for, and they knew that it would be this amazing thing that nobody had ever seen before. So yeah, maybe that is a discussion for another time, but it's just it's an incredible water cooler conversation, or I guess in the COVID era, it's a Zoom conversation.
yeah. Also, I want to know what kind of sandwich it was.
I do too. I do too. I hope it was a peanut butter sandwich, and that the when Black Widow talks about throwing her sandwich at Captain America in Endgame, I hope it's a reference to that moment. Yeah. Um, we got one more thing that we're gonna get on the 12th, and okay, so what we're gonna get is we're getting a new a drama series called Dope Sick, and it's gonna be an original series. It stars Michael Keaton, Will Poulter, and Rosario Dawson. heavy hitters, especially in
Hmm.
the Disney universe, right? I mean,
Yes.
Michael Keaton, and Will Poulter, and Rosario Dawson are all very entrenched in the nerd culture. Will Poulter was very recently cast as Adam Warlock. And
Yeah.
people are excited about that.
Yeah.
So
It's like they already got people who are technically in house to do this. That's what it
yeah.
feels like. Yeah.
And so basically, this show is going to be about the opioid epidemic. So apparently, it's going to be about a doctor who's like, I guess, trying to do the right thing for his patients and care for his patients. And I looked into this a little more, and apparently, he's just kind of it's going to come down to like him kind of against the pharmaceutical companies and seeing like what the impact is of these drugs on like American culture or maybe even other cultures. If you're listening to me describe this and you're thinking, "What in the fuck?" That is the right reaction, because this is going to be dark
Yeah.
and edgy, and it does not seem like your typical Disney programming. And so, interestingly enough, though, it's going to release on Hulu in the U.S. and it's going to be on Disney Plus everywhere else.
Yeah, something else is interesting about this, and I don't know if this is already out somewhere else on some other platform, but I've heard a lot about this show already. Um, and I obviously haven't seen any of it if it is available in some other way, but I've heard a lot about this show and I heard that it's really, really good. So,
Yeah, I've heard the
yeah.
same thing, and I think either they previewed it in some places or maybe it is already airing in some markets. But this is Disney batting outside the box, and I
That's
really
good.
like it. And
Yeah.
if you think I'm using a lot of baseball analogies tonight, you'll have to forgive me. The Braves just won the World Series, and so I am using a lot of baseball terms here tonight.
Yeah, yeah, man. They Marvel really hit a home run with their films. I can do it too, see?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah. So, all right. So that wraps up kind of the list of stuff we know.
Mhm.
100%, we're getting this stuff November 12th. So from here on out, folks, we're speculating. We're going to talk about things that we want to happen and how, or we maybe not that we want. It could be stuff we don't want. Um, but basically, we're going to be talking about things that are likely to happen, how likely they are to happen. Will we get it on the 12th? So that's how we're going to be going forward here. We're all speculating from here on out. I'm really excited about some of these things. First off, a lot of people are thinking that we may get a price drop, maybe not a permanent price drop, but it may be something where you can sign up or get a discount if you for a limited amount of time. Because originally Disney Plus debuted at I think $49.99 for a year, and it's 79.99 right now, I believe, for a year. So a lot of people are speculating that we may see a price drop. Um, I don't know if that's very likely.
Me either. I got to be honest. I because have their prices really changed since they've released? Hasn't it always been 6.99 or 7.99, whatever?
Yeah, they
Like,
haven't changed very much
yeah,
since it came out. I mean,
I
there was that initial offering, and if you got in on that, then you're good. But
right.
then when it actually released, it was, I think it's 7.99.
Mhm. I mean, 7.99. That's the best price point out of any streaming service. I should know. I have almost all of them.
Right. Yeah, I mean, for 4K HDR content,
Hmm.
Netflix is charging me nearly $20 a month.
Yep.
And it's just like I mean, granted, like Netflix has probably a wider library, but Disney's library is tight and it's focused and it's good. Like I don't ever have to
Yeah.
go swimming through Disney Plus. Like I'm sitting there, I know what's coming out on it. I'm waiting for it as it releases, and I'm probably watching it. I can't tell you how many times I've stayed up till 3 o'clock in the morning to watch an episode of something on Disney Plus the moment that it launches.
And not only that, but Disney Plus also obviously owns their content, uh, which is something that Netflix they can say for a lot of their original content now, but for a lot of the stuff that they really build their foundation on, they don't technically really own.
Right.
So
Yeah. And that's why you do see them focusing more on original programming now. And and we're not here to throw shade at Netflix, but Disney is here to throw shade at Netflix, because they've basically said that they want to knock them off the top of the streaming platforms. And I mean, they've really Disney is very focused on Disney Plus being the streaming network. I mean, Black Widow, when it released on streaming, dominated everything for 2 weeks,
yeah,
and that's not even an A-list Marvel movie.
yeah, that's true. Should have been.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, we don't have to.
yeah, we don't gotta go.
We don't got
We
to
don't
go
got
into
we
that.
don't, we don't gotta go there.
Yeah,
But that is true. But the thing I love about it the most is that I mean it shows that competition is good. It really forces the competition to step up. I mean, we know that like Netflix, they have their array of TV shows that they really love to focus on, and I think it's great for the most part. For every great MCU show or every great Star Wars show that we get on Disney Plus, hopefully we'll get another Witcher or another Stranger Things or another Ozark. Um,
The Boys.
so yeah, the boys. So yeah, going to Amazon, yeah. Um, so yeah, there's always great competition out there, and hopefully that just creates more. And also just to add on to that even more, um, just going to show that like the popularity of superhero content is not waning. Where something that Kevin and I discussed a few months ago on on superhero homies was the fact that on three separate stations on Netflix we're covering Umbrella Academy, and then on Amazon we were talking about The Boys, and then on HBO there was Doom Patrol, and then it was like there's all these, if we're being honest, fairly obscure superhero shows that honestly have no business being as prevalent as they are, as popular as they are with people. And yet here we are talking about them and having a conversation with somebody who doesn't read comics about the boys is mind blowing.
Yeah, or
So,
Guardians of the Galaxy, or
or Guardians of the Galaxy. Yeah, that
yeah,
was the most mind blowing still.
yeah. I mean, I would say that there are easily more casual Guardians of the Galaxy movie fans than there ever were people that bought those issues.
Yeah.
I mean,
Uh that's 100% the truth.
yeah, I mean, eh, it's just crazy to see that being a thing, and what gets me is people were talking about superhero fatigue. That that term was coined around the like BVS Civil War era,
Hmm.
and just think about how absolutely ludicrous that is, because Endgame made $2 billion several years after that.
Hmm. Yeah, the concept of the fatigue only comes about when things get stagnant. Uh, Superhero as a whole is a subgenre that incorporates other genres to really support itself. So saying that it's a superhero movie in this day and age does not tell me everything I need to know about the movie. In a world where we're going to get a Doctor Strange horror movie, where we've had a couple of MCU spy movies, or whether or not we've seen uh you know, whether it be superhero war based movies or superhero R rated strong content like the Suicide Squad. There's an array of content or genres that go along with the superhero. Superhero by itself isn't a complete genre. It needs another genre to complete it. So the idea of fatigue only comes about when it stops getting creative and it stops getting fun.
Yeah, and to be fair, that sort of 2016 era, when they started coining that, we had two movies come out in the same year. Batman versus Superman, which people were very hyped for and then very disappointed with, and then Civil War, which still with most audiences was considered a home run and still made a lot of money. But both movies were really about collateral damage, and they were both about superheroes fighting each other. And so it was unfortunate that they came out in the same year, and I think people maybe probably did start to get fatigued with when you had both of your major
Mhm.
powerhouses making movies about the same thing, and the fact that they were to varying degrees of success doesn't help it.
Yeah, that and the fact that it was by design that these movies came out around the same time as well. Which, in retrospect, I don't know if they realized that that hurt more than helped, but
Yeah, agreed.
yeah. Mhm.
Um, so let me ask you this before we start getting into the specific categories here. Um, Hulu and ABC are under the banner of Disney now, of course. Fox as well. Um, so we have the bundle, which is you can get ESPN, you can get Hulu, and you can get Disney Plus. Do you think we see any changes to that bundle, or do you think maybe they add any categories to Disney Plus? Do you think we see Hulu becoming more integrated, or maybe ABC's content becoming more integrated?
That's an excellent question. I one haven't really thought about that much. I don't know if we see any real big changes to those. Um, yeah, I mean, I guess if anything, we'd probably see because here's the thing, like for people who watch ESPN or people who are like big into that realm, I don't see that really changing too much because that's a strong fan base that will never change or alter or falter. As far as Hulu goes, um, yeah, like that's kind of the wild card for me. I don't know if there's any significant changes with Hulu. I can see there being changes, but I don't know what they'd be. And as far as ABC goes, I couldn't tell you the last time I really watched anything from ABC specifically. So,
Yeah, I'm on board with you there.
mhm.
I have no idea. Uh, so we're gonna go down the list here and get into some of the things that we uh, speculate that we're gonna see. Um, One of the things that I think is really cool that's coming from ESPN, and yes, I did have to look up a YouTube video of this guy pronouncing his name. So they have a movie coming up called Rise, and it's going to be like one of the based on type films. Think 42 being about the life of Jackie Robinson. I watched
Mhm.
that movie earlier today. It's fantastic. If you haven't seen it, it's so good. Um, uh, but anyway, it is based on the life of Giannis Adentocumpo. I had to watch him pronounce that earlier because that last name it's a killer. It's a cold dick killer, Morty. And he has a very interesting life. He actually grew up in Athens, Greece, and comes from like a long line of like basketball players, and it had a very interesting story. And he's an incredible player. I keep up with the NBA, a little bit here and there.
Mhm.
Um, and I think that this will be a cool thing. I think we get a preview for this. I think it's highly likely, because how much ESPN and Nat Geo content do they really have?
That's a good question. I mean, I imagine that as far as like as far as original content goes, very little. So, but the back catalog and or the library is it's got to be immense, though.
Yeah, it's enormous. I mean,
Yeah,
ESPN's got what 40, 50
right.
years worth of everything.
Easily.
Um, uh, one of the things that I'm not like a big National Geographic fan, but one of the things, moving on, I I really am interested in this show, and I probably will watch it. So they're coming out with a show called Welcome to Earth. I don't know how much we're gonna get on this because it comes out in December, right? So it may be one of those things where maybe they just play the trailer, or maybe announce like some cameos or something from people. But basically, it's Will Smith kind of traveling the world and going to a lot of like lesser known locations, and even getting into some kind of dangerous areas where they have some kind of apex predators out there.
Uh, I was gonna make an Independence Day joke, but apparently that was done by design.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Hopefully this goes way better than the last time he said "Welcome to Earth."
Right.
At
Right.
least at first.
Yeah.
So if there are any aliens, they're screwed.
Oh yeah, yeah. He's dealt with aliens in so many different franchises. Like I don't think they stand a chance.
Yeah, I mean, out of all the people that they could have come in contact with, this is like the last guy they want to come in contact with.
Right.
So, um, okay, so I said we were going to be brief on ESPN and Nat Geo, and we are. So we're probably not the people to really dig deep into what into speculation about what they might have coming out because both of those things that we just mentioned, I had to look them up. So it's gonna whatever it is gonna be complete news to me. Um, Something that I can speak a little bit more on though is kind of the core Disney offerings. There's a lot of buzz on the internet, Reddit, etc., that they are going to announce a Disney Plus Percy Jackson series. Um, and those movies are very popular in like the kind of young adult audience.
Yeah, so like I never actually saw the movies themselves, but I remember hearing a lot of buzz about them. Uh so let me ask you this. If this does come to fruition, is this going to be more like a retelling, you think, or like a continuation of some sort?
I think the cast of the movies has got to be too old now.
Hmm.
Because I don't think they would just pick up from the movies. So yeah, I think this has probably got to be like a from Jump Street like retelling of the whole thing, and then maybe they can expand on some things. I have not read the books, but I know a lot of people whose like kids have read the books, or like people who are like in their early 20s that read them. These were sort of the Harry Potter for that
Mm.
generation to an extent. I mean, it wasn't as popular because Harry Potter is a global phenomenon. I mean, around the holidays, it still hits like the top of the Amazon charts every single year. You know, so yeah, this is it's not really on that level, but it is sort of that generation right after us. It's kind of their
Hmm.
childhood kind of book series that caught on really hard. Um,
Right.
so yeah, I think that we get this, but I think it's a complete fresh retelling.
Yeah, and I mean that's probably for the best, especially if it is like such a popular IP. It's just a way to garner new fans and to bring the old ones back.
Right. And I mean, there'll be people that compare it to the movies, but as you know, anytime you're going to adapt a book, if you got 10 hours instead of 2, you're going to have a lot better time with that, and it's probably going to please book fans a lot more.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Um, this is completely off topic, but uh, definitely check out the Wheel of Time series that's coming out on Amazon Prime. I gotta plug that. So that's coming out like in the next 2 weeks. So yeah, shameless plug there. Not a sponsor.
Yeah, I gotta be honest, man. Like, just speaking of that real quick, you have me more hyped for that show than anything Amazon has done. So,
Here's the thing, man. I haven't even read it yet. I haven't read it. I'm waiting until after the show comes out to read it. But I just, for my own selfish reasons, want it to do extremely well, because I want then Hollywood to go and start digging into Brandon Sanderson's works so that they can make them into a $1 billion franchise. So that is that's what I'm wanting. So it's a very selfish desire that I have for that show to do well. I may just have it streaming on my TV 24/7 just to pump those numbers up.
right.
Um, Another thing that I kind of found that people were speculating here is that we may get a like really high quality Aladdin stage play production that may come out for Disney Plus.
Actually,
I'm down for it.
I mean, yeah, that'd be interesting. Like, I mean, I love Aladdin, and I full disclosure, I didn't mind the Guy Ritchie movie. Like, I yeah, yeah, I said that out loud. I
No,
didn't hate it.
I absolutely love the live action remake.
Oh, okay, good, good.
Yeah.
Because most people I talk to, they're kind of iffy on that. But yeah, I really enjoyed the live action remake. So I'm all about some Aladdin. I mean, yeah, anything with Jafar, like let's do it. Let's roll.
Aladdin is my favorite Disney movie. Like that out of the animated ones that came out when we were
Right.
kids, and so for me to really love the live action one, I mean, obviously the live action one isn't quite as good. There's a couple things like Jafar is not as good,
Right.
and then the added Jasmine sections I can do without
Yeah.
some of them. But I like that they expanded her role in the story, and I love
Hmm.
the actress that played her in the movie. But
Yeah.
some of her musical numbers are just atrociously like out of place, like a in-game level out of place.
Yeah, they were there. There was one in particular, I believe, like the beginning of the third act, that really just kind of stood out in that movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, other than that, though, I thought it was really good. I think that Will Smith did about as good as anyone could do with the shoes you had to fill.
Yeah, he didn't try to be Robin Williams, which was going to be a lose lose scenario if he
Yep.
had tried.
Yep.
Um, that being said, this I didn't have this on the outline I sent you earlier, so I'm gonna throw you a curveball here. Do
Mhm.
you think we will get an announcement for another live action remake of a classic Disney film, and if so, which one?
Oh man. So the thoughts that ran through my mind were like such a fastball bevy of different ideas that contradicted one another. So my first thought was actually more of a selfish what I would like to see. And I said it would be great if they did Hercules. But then I also countered that thought with saying, well, Q, Disney also obviously owns Marvel and they may want to bring in the MCU version of Hercules there. So if they were to do that, it may be confusing if they did a Disney Hercules remake, so maybe not. Uh, my next thought would be because they've done so many of the classics.
Right.
Uh, Trying to think one that they haven't done is I don't know. I mean, they even tried Tarzan a few years ago, didn't they? And that didn't
Hell,
quite pan out.
we were just talking about it. They could do Return of Jafar.
They could, yeah. Um,
I'm down for an Aladdin trilogy. I'm all for it. I mean, honestly, the way they structured the first movie almost lends itself to there being another movie in that franchise. And maybe they go a different direction because the sequels were, they were a mixed bag as far as reception
mhm.
goes.
Yeah, it's kind of funny because like if you deviate from the original sequels, then I don't think people would be that upset.
Right. But
Yeah, yeah.
I was so into Aladdin as a kid. I love all three of them. So,
Wow.
yeah. Yeah, yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's just something about Jafar becoming like a straight up Sith Lord in the second one that's just
Right.
fantastic. But yeah, I don't know. Okay, so this is another thing that I found a lot of info on. I'm gonna be honest here, I don't know a lot about it, but apparently there's the Proud Family was a huge hit on the Disney Channel back in the day,
Yes.
and a lot of people have kind of hinted that we may be getting that returning on Disney Plus, which would be cool. They can do the whole back catalog, and then they can
Right.
bring the whole cast back, and apparently the cast is all up for it. So I didn't watch it myself, but it sounds like it was a big hit. It sounds like it'd be a win for Disney.
Yeah, when I was a kid, I honestly didn't watch a ton of their TV show or their animated TV shows, but the Proud Family was one that I would watch from time to time, and I thought it was pretty enjoyable. I never had a bad time with it. I always thought it was a pretty funny show. So it'd be cool if they brought that back. I think that there's a lot they could do with that today.
Yeah, they have already announced that they are going to do a Rocketeer live action movie, and I was reading some stuff about it. Apparently, I think it was the director, said he was asked, about, you know, the kind of, I guess the maybe not the rumor, but the mantra in Hollywood is like Disney only gives money to live action when it's Marvel, and uh, and I understand that because they're the ones bringing
Mhm.
in the money. But it's like the director said, no, Disney has really given us everything we wanted in this budget, everything we've asked for, they've given us. So I'm excited. I think an original type movie like this that's outside of what we're getting elsewhere, and it's kind of out of. I don't want to say out of Disney's wheelhouse, but it's not Frozen. It's not like
Yeah.
it's not that sort of content. Um,
Now, here's kind of of a deep cut. Maybe not so much for you, but the gentleman who directed Captain America 1, didn't he also previously direct a Rocketeer movie himself?
yeah, I believe so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, so it's not like it's just more, I guess, more of a funny coincidence more than anything else.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what comes of it. I think maybe we don't get a. If we get a teaser for this, it'll be very brief. I think
Yeah.
maybe we might get like some concept art or something like that. Maybe they'll talk about it. Maybe we get a release date, but I don't think we're gonna get like a trailer or anything for this.
Yeah.
Um, Another thing that's incredibly speculative, and I will admit that out of the Disney stuff that we've mentioned, this is probably the biggest. Like, this could just be the internet being hopeful, but there are rumors of a Kingdom Hearts series coming to Disney Plus. I think this is a mistake if they make it. Um, but what are your thoughts on this? How likely do you think it is?
Zero. I think that Disney is smart enough to not touch Kingdom Hearts. Not in that capacity. Um, because if you think about it, in terms of like the storytelling for Kingdom Hearts, Disney wasn't necessarily hands on for those projects. It was that was mostly Square that did all that, and we see kind of how that went throughout that trilogy. So no, I don't think that it's very likely that we see anything from that capacity.
Yeah, agreed.
No.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you. I think that is a zero sum. You will lose either way you go with it.
Hmm.
Um, and I don't know, how much collaboration they'd have to do with Square. Is Square gonna make it? Are they gonna animate it? Because if so, I'm already done. It'll take them 7 years.
Right,
Yeah,
and it'll have a cliffhanger for season one, and then we'll never get season two until 15 years down the road. So
yeah. I'm good. I'm just
yeah.
good. Okay. We got all that stuff out of the way, right? So let's talk about the MCU. This is your bread and butter. So if I'm missing anything, which is completely possible, definitely let me know. So obviously, this is a known, right? We're not really speculating here on what on this because the next property coming out this December, it looks like it's going to be like a Die Hard theme thing. Is going to be Hawkeye. I've seen the trailers and I'm here for it, man.
Yeah, the trailers look really good, man. I like what they're doing with this. Um, we're we're getting a Hawkeye. Yeah, this does feel so much like Die Hard, but also I'm getting a little bit of Lethal Weapon, a little bit of I'm too old for this shit in here
Yeah.
as well from Clint. But I think this is great, man. I don't know exactly what the long term plan is for the character of Clinton Barton. Um, if he does, you know, finally want to retire to spend time with his family, I think this show would be a great spinoff from that. Also, FYI, guys, there's a phenomenal comic book run done by Matt Fraction that is what this show is going to be loosely based off of as well. Probably the best Hawkeye solo series that you can find in comic book format. Highly suggest reading that if you guys really want to get into the groove of things before the TV show comes out. But it looks amazing, though.
There you go, ladies and gentlemen. If you were wondering, that's why we have him on the show.
Mhm.
Because he knows the good stuff. He knows all the good print stuff. Uh, let me ask you this though:
Mhm.
have they already shown too much? Is the trailer? Does the trailer and of course like this goes either way, right? Marvel is very good at making you think you know everything in the trailer and then it's all a bunch of smoke and mirrors, but they also are guilty at times of just showing way too damn much in the trailer. So if you had to guess, which one of those do you think this is, or do you think it's a little bit of both?
If I can be honest, I don't think they've shown too much, and I guess because, especially from a trailer standpoint, Marvel they they have some stock with me, because with their trailers typically, um you get something that you may think is like a big thing of it, but it may just be like a small bit, like a cameo or whatnot, like seeing Abomination in the Shang-Chi trailers. Like it obviously looks like a big deal because that's Abomination. We haven't seen him since 2008, and here he is again. But in reality, it was a fun Easter egg that they threw in the movie. uh but it didn't have very much impact. So ultimately, no, I don't think they've shown too much in the Hawkeye series. I think that they still have quite a bit of their sleeve, especially since it's a TV show and they have a lot more footage for that than they do a movie.
Next question then, and I agree with you 100% on pretty much all of that. uh would you watch, and this is something that fans from the very first Hawkeye trailer are like clamoring for, would you watch a Steve Rogers musical?
So I am a huge Captain America fan, so I'd be obligated to.
Yeah, I mean, from the moment that they created that in universe, I mean, it was all over the internet. It was
You're
like,
right.
"Hey guys, did you see the Hawkeye trailer? Also, please give us Steve Rogers the musical."
That would be great, and I think because I was thinking about that, and I think like the way that I would enjoy that the most would be under the guise of seeing other members of the MCU going to casually see this, and then we see it as they're seeing it. I
Yeah,
think that'd be epic.
that would be very cool. Yeah, that would be very cool. Um, okay, so we'll go down the speculation train here. This is all but announced, so we're I'm not trying to sound super clever, by guessing that we're going to get an announcement on this because the director has already said that he's already talking about season two plans. So the biggest, I think, arguably the biggest hit on Disney Plus as far as the MCU goes is What If, and we just recently got done going through all that, and I think it blew away people's expectations for what it was going to be. Do you think we get like an official announcement for season two?
Oh, absolutely. As a matter of fact, I was so confident in that I thought it was already confirmed.
Yeah,
Uh, and here's the thing, guys. Like for anyone who hasn't seen What If, maybe the biggest maybe the most important thing I can say about the TV show is this. I enjoy the What If TV show way more than I enjoy the What If comics. If that isn't the highest accommodation I can give a superhero product, then I don't know what is. It's that good, and I don't know if it's because it can be tethered to the major MCU or it can't, and the fact that it really doesn't matter. They're given so much creativity and freedom to kind of do what they want, tell whatever stories they want to, and they're having so much fun with it. I mean, yeah, I think that it's a no brainer. We may not, I don't, we definitely won't see anything for a Wit of season two, but I do firmly believe that they will say yes for certain. We're getting Wit of season two.
I mean, honestly, like the thing that would really blow my mind is they open the scene with Jeffrey Wright sitting there and he gives the chilling,
Uh huh.
amazing intro that he did, and even like the eighth time you heard it, you were still like, yes,
Right.
Um, and I really hope that they would announce not only a season two, but that we are gonna get Jeffrey Wright as Uatu in like the MCU proper, because
Yeah.
that would absolutely cement. It's already, what if I'm pretty sure that they've already said like, hey, yeah, it is canon, but we have
Hmm.
multiverse, so it can be canon. But
Right.
Jeffrey Wright as the Watcher in a MCU like live action movie would further cement that.
Oh yeah, and not only that, it wouldn't be any stretch at all because we've already seen Watchers in the MCU. We saw them in Guardians Volume Two. So it wouldn't even be that big of a stretch to see Uatu, because to some degree we're already acclimated to it.
Yeah, um,
Mhm.
I agree. Yeah. Uh, okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and just put this out there. From here on, as far as the Marvel stuff goes, most of this shit does not even have a release date. Like, we have a release year for some of this stuff. And they're not being a release date for it, but it being announced, that always opens up a possibility that that's what we might get. We might get like a third quarter 2023, or
Mhm.
something like that, like a vague date. We know Marvel just shifted a bunch of their dates around for their releases.
Right.
Okay, so let's talk She-Hulk because that's the next thing we should be getting on Disney Plus after Hawkeye. It's been given a broad 2022 release. Um, do you think that we get any kind of like trailer, teaser, or anything like that?
I think that it is. I think it's possible that we get maybe like a 30-second teaser that will be mostly voiceover, and we may see Tatiana and just her normal Jenny Walters form. Uh, if we see any footage from anything that isn't technically doesn't have a set date yet, it'll be Moon Knight. And I only say that because She-Hulk does require a lot more effects than Moon Knight would. Um, but no, I guess to answer your question, I don't think that we actually. I don't think that we're going to see like She-Hulk. I think that we'll maybe get a little 15-30 second teaser.
If we get any kind of footage, it's going to have Mark Ruffalo in it, right? Because that's going to be
Hmm.
the thing they're going to use to say, "Oh, hey, MCU fans and Bruce Banner,"
Yeah.
and I think it would be interesting if I so like what we don't want, right? We know that Mark Ruffalo's in the show.
Hmm.
He's going to be Bruce Banner. I think maybe we don't get the Hulk proper at all. Maybe if we do, maybe it's just like maybe he's training her or something, you
Yeah.
know. But I don't. What I don't want is for her to go through the whole show and then she faces the big bad guy at the end, and then we have like the Hulk comes in and is like the Deus Ex Machina.
Right. Yeah. No, we don't need that. Uh, the beautiful thing about She-Hulk, man, is that for so many years, she's been written so well by guys like John Byrne and even Dan Slott, who were able to make her such a unique character that even though she's big, green, and strong, and she has the word Hulk in her name, you can think about She-Hulk and not think about the Hulk. Like
Right.
that's just how fleshed out she is. So we don't really need that much Bruce Banner in this show.
Right. He's there to bring the general MCU audience over,
Yeah.
and he'll do that. And it's not that
Hmm.
I don't want to see more Bruce Banner,
Yeah.
but I think, from, light spoiler here, I think from seeing, the Shang-Chi end credits, we're going to see a lot more of him in the MCU anyway, because he's one of the few core Avengers that's left, right?
Yeah.
So we're going to see more of him.
One arm
Um,
and everything.
right. Yeah. Yeah. Still had it in the sling. Yeah. Um, okay. So you mentioned Moon Knight. First off, is Oscar Isaac not on a absolute tear lately? It's like all the Star Wars sequel trilogy people, their careers just went straight into the tank afterwards, but Oscar Isaac has clawed his way out of the Sarlacc pit.
Oscar Isaac, no disrespect to any of the other newcomers that were in the previous Star Wars trilogy, but Oscar Isaac, he had done a lot of amazing projects before Star Wars. So it's not even like that was his big break.
Yeah.
Uh, and so to see him here in this role is not surprising. He's one of those actors who is really like a chameleon. You can see him in a bevy of different roles. And so when he was first announced as Mark Spector, I was like, yeah, it's going to be perfect. And I think what I like the most is just how quiet everything's been surrounding Moon Knight. They've just been quietly working on it as it slowly approaches. I think we may see something for Moon Knight.
Yeah, I mean, his turn as Leto Atreides in Dune. I mean, I know you
Dune.
haven't seen it yet, but that's a role that's been played by three different actors, and he just absolutely embodies that role. He grew that perfect beard
Hmm.
for it. That's just like, just it's so crisp. He did such a great job. I know you and I are both huge fans of the movie Ex Machina, which is kind of almost a, I don't know if it's even a cult classic, but it's a lesser known, film, but it's
Yeah.
so good and he's so good in it. Um, so what do you think the odds are that we get some like a teaser or a trailer for this?
Realistically, I think that it is slightly less than 50% that we get footage for it. But out of all of the other projects that are coming out after Hawkeye, I think that we're most likely to see something from him. And
Yeah,
again, it's because his is it's the most practical.
even if it's just Oscar Isaac in the costume, I think I'd be good
Yeah, yeah,
because we all want to see what he's gonna look like.
right. Yeah, if it's just a shot of the cowl, even something. I think we'll get something.
Do you think the internet will immediately be like, "This is just Marvel Batman"?
Uh, what I think will happen is I think maybe for a day, something that I've learned about the internet and their stark reactions is they'll react, but then over the course of 24 hours they'll Google, and then they'll come back and then they'll use their expertise to say, well, no, that's not the case at all, and then that'll be it. So I don't think the comparisons will stick around very long. If anything, when the show comes out, they'll probably compare him to Daredevil.
Yeah. Haha, you said there, Stark reaction.
Go to bed.
Oh, you can, like this is a new setup, man. My bed is like right here. I could just easily just leap over into it. Um, that being said, man, so Miss Marvel is coming up, and this is somebody who was very recently in the Avengers video game, and everyone
Mhm.
hates it. Uh, so it's like her introduction, I guess, to the general audiences wasn't that great. Um, what it's this one is we're getting a winter 2022 release. What are you thinking about this? Do you think we'll get anything on this?
So this one right here, I'm kind of up in the air about because, and you may have an answer for this, but it's her first, or is a live action appearance going to be first in this TV show, or is it going to be in the Marvels?
I think so. They just pushed the Marvels out of 2022, right?
That's true. Yeah, early 2023 now.
Yeah.
So,
So she's gonna get her show before she appears in the movie now, which I think is a good call because
mhm.
if people like her, that's gonna help that movie because as
Yeah.
we know, um, people don't like Carol Danvers. I like Captain Marvel from audiences has one of the worst audience scores. I mean, a lot of people just don't like her character. But a lot of people seem to really gravitate towards Monica Rambeau in
Yes.
WandaVision, and I thought she was amazing. She's going to be in it, so it could only help this movie to have another character with that sort of presence to bring people in.
Yeah. And honestly, like this is going to be like such an important show for Marvel. I won't pretend like I know exactly the inner workings of Kevin Feige and the MCU, but it wouldn't surprise me at all if they would like to set up a Young Avengers, and if they want her at the head of that, it wouldn't surprise me at all. And, with all the things that they've had going, in other TV shows, seeing Speed and Wiccan, seeing, the Young Patriot. I mean, we've seen so many Kid Loki. We've seen a lot of characters who could be in the Young Avengers with uh with Miss Marvel at the head of that. Um, but yeah, I think that this show. I don't know if we actually see anything for this. We very well could because they've been working on it for a while. But the reason I have reservations is because it was recently announced that they're tweaking her power set. Maybe that was the plan from the beginning, and if so, then they may have footage for it. But if not, then I'm not quite certain.
Yeah, I agreed on that. We got a couple of different kind of further out Disney Plus shows. These are rumored for either late 2022 or 2023. Probably, I'm guessing more 2023 because we already got three coming out 2022,
Mhm.
and Star Wars has a lot coming out next year too. So, they like to run that cadence where it's like the Marvel show ends, and then 2 weeks, we got some Star Wars stuff starting up. So.
I mean,
Um,
it's smart.
yeah, so we've got Secret Invasion, which should be a big project. We
Yes.
have Armor Wars, and we have Ironheart, and we know that Ironheart is probably going to be after um, Black Panther
Black
2
Panther 2. Yeah.
because Ironheart is supposed to make her debut in that movie.
Hmm.
And and this is kind of breaking news here, they actually just stopped production
They
on
did.
Wakanda Forever over Letitia Wright's injury, which has me worried, man, because that injury happened a while back, and they thought it was minor, and it seems like that may not be the case.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. That last bit I was not aware of. I thought it was a new injury that she had sustained. I didn't know it was still that same old lingering injury. So that is a little disconcerting. Um,
And that may be the case. The reports may just be a little confusing about it. But a lot of the stuff I was reading earlier implied that it was the same injury. So I hope it's
Ooh,
not. I hope it's something new.
yeah. Well, as bizarre as that is out of context, yeah. I hope that she has a new injury.
Yeah,
Uh,
well, because we
right.
know if something lasts longer than like 5 months, man, it's got to be serious, and that's
Oh
like
yeah.
surgery and possibly worse. So
Right.
hopefully that all sorts itself out. Hopefully, she's doing fantastic because Shuri, as you know, is one of my favorite MCU characters. And I love this is going to sound bad out of context too. I love that they have to shut down the filming because she's not there, because that tells you that her role in the movie is going to be a big deal. You know.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, yeah, and that is true because typically they'll try to, film around scenes like that. So it is kind of telling that, yeah, that they actually shut down production because of her. Um, but yeah, so it is interesting to me that Riri Williams is, going to be making her debut in Black Panther 2. Um, there's certainly pros and cons to have about that. Again, wrong place, wrong time. But yeah, I'm trying to figure out exactly what they do with the character in Black Panther 2 that leads into the Ironheart series because I think that she was also going to be in the Armor Wars as well. So they have plans for Riri.
Yeah, yeah. She's got like a microverse in the miniverse.
Yeah.
Yeah. Uh, so yeah, I mean that's a cool thing. I mean, honestly, this is something that we've seen. This is a trick that Kevin Feige can pull again and again.
Hmm.
Is he can if he puts you in several properties and makes you the connective tissue between those properties, audiences are much more likely to gravitate towards your character, right?
Yes.
Because that builds depth to your character, and even if there's not a ton of depth already there, then it at least gives the illusion of depth.
Hmm.
And I think that's going to be fantastic because I know you have some concerns about this character as a whole.
Yeah, 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 absolutely. But again, if you guys love to hear me complain and vent about certain comic characters, be sure to check out the Superhero Homies podcast.
Yeah, yeah, I have not listened to their Eternals review yet, but
Oh,
just from
I tell
our
you,
conversation last night, I just know that it's going to be like 2 hours of that.
I will say this: no spoilers about the Eternals review or even our episode. Whether you love the movie or hate the movie, our review you will find to be hilarious. It is quite funny. If I do say so ourselves, Kevin and I we have found a way to outdo ourselves.
I cannot wait. I've got a long drive ahead of me tomorrow, and I plan to listen to it then. This is like 24 hours after the review, and that's like usually I have already listened to the whole thing by now. So,
Mhm.
uh, you guys always do such an amazing job with that stuff.
Oh,
Um,
much appreciated.
and I want to mention again that after all this stuff comes out, if you're still listening to this an hour and 12 minutes in, after all this stuff happens on Disney Plus Day, Superhero Homies are going to be covering all of it in retrospect. So you guys are going to be reviewing it and talking about everything that came out. So if you're excited
Yes.
for this stuff, watch it, tune in. You can see how accurate we may have been in some of our predictions here.
Absolutely. And unfortunately I don't have the capability to edit this episode to make it look like I was right about everything. Uh
That's true. That's true. Let's talk about speaking of things that you were completely right about. Let's talk about Loki season two. Uh, do you think so? It's already announced, right?
Mhm.
And it's obviously very popular, as we saw from our trip to Dragon Con.
Oh, yes.
Do you think that we will get anything about this?
I'm gonna say no because Loki is such an integral part of the inner workings of the MCU right now. I mean, honestly, there's some connective tissue there between Spider-Man No Way Home and Doctor Strange 2 and whatever happens after that. I think that to reveal much of, well, and also of course Ant-Man 3, there's connective tissue there as well. Honestly, I think whatever happens in Loki season 2, I don't think they're going to reveal much of anything about it just because they want to keep as much of this under the lid as they can right now because of all the inner workings going on.
I think the best thing we might get is we may get some casting. Like we may
Mhm.
get confirmation that Jonathan Majors is returning for the second
Right.
season. But yeah, I mean, there's no
Mhm.
Jesus Christ, principal photography done yet on Loki season 2. So yeah, I agree. I think we may get a release date though, because I think they're confident in their ability to hit that mark because everything's already in place. It's not a new show for them.
Yeah,
And it is the first Disney Plus show to officially be announced, have a second season announced.
that is also true.
Yep.
Yeah,
So Marvel
it's
Disney
interesting.
Plus
Right,
to
right.
be specific. Let's talk the movies for a second. That pretty much wraps up all the shows, all like 10 of them that are planned. Um, Doctor Strange 2 is obviously the next thing around the corner after Spider-Man. Do you think they will drop something on this? I think if anything, we might get a teaser. I think they've already filmed it, uh,
Uh,
or they're at least maybe finishing it up right now.
yeah, I think that they're just putting the final touches on the film. Um, I think that I don't think they're going to release much of anything at all on Doctor Strange 2. And I only say that because Spidey is just so close now. We're so close to Spidey 3. Um, and again, that connective tissue, man. I think that so many people are excited already about both Spider-Man 3 and Doctor Strange 2, that to release anything now, whether it was just a small thing, it's almost like cutting your nose off to spite your face. You already have the people right where you want them.
I think if we get anything for this, even if we were to get a teaser, I think maybe we get like them announcing that Vision and Wanda will be in it, like returning in
Hmm.
it, and we might get some short clips of them interacting with Strange. But I don't think we can get anything beyond that at a maximum because of what we just said. Like, No Way Home is just so close,
Yeah,
and you can't reveal too much about this movie without spoiling No Way Home because Doctor Strange seems like he's so like just intertwined in that movie's plot.
right. Uh, I'll tell you what. I haven't taken the Hail Mary yet, so I'll take one here on your podcast.
Okay.
I'll say this: for Doctor Strange 2, if anything, we will get confirmation that Shuma Gorath would be in it, the mini-angled one, the Marvel version of Cthulhu. I think that we will get confirmation that he is in the movie.
Okay. I love it. Um, I don't know if me calling Vision being in it is a Hail Mary or not. I think
Mhm.
that's at best a short pass. Uh, yeah. Um, so other movies on the docket. We got a Blade tidbit recently, and that's not a spoiler, folks, because it's so obscure that neither of us caught it.
No,
Uh,
no.
Blade, the Marvels we talked about a bit, Black Panther 2, Thor 4. I think if we get anything on any of those, it's Thor 4.
Uh, probably because I feel like that one's been in production the longest.
Yeah.
Um, out,
And
out of
they
all
would love to
those,
parade Natalie Portman out there for whatever reason.
that's also true.
Nothing against Natalie
Uh,
Portman. I just,
I mean, a little bit. You walk away and then you don't want to come back until they decide to give you the hammer. I take a little bit of grievance with it. But anyways, I love me some Natalie Portman, but I mean that's just
No, I'm with you. I'm with you. I get it. Yeah. Yeah, not being in Endgame for the 20 seconds she would have needed to be in it.
yeah, having them recomp footage. Those people already had enough work to do. But no, Thor 4, that's actually a good guess. If we get like anything from those movies, it will most likely be Thor 4.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Dude, I would love if we got some Christian Bale as Gore the God Butcher. Like,
Oh my gosh, that yeah,
ooh,
that
Christian Bale is one of those people where I will watch anything with him in it. Like, it doesn't matter what it is.
mhm.
It could be like Barbie World starring Christian
Right.
Bale, and I would watch it.
And Christian Bale, he just naturally seems so mean that I'm like, he make a perfect gore. So I'm looking forward to seeing this. And If I can say something good about this movie, it's the fact that Gore is such a powerhouse. He's such a serious threat with a tragic background and all of that. That I mean, I guess spoiler alert in the comics, it took Thor from three different eras to beat this guy, and so the fact that we have two Thors in this movie, I think, really bodes well for how serious they may take Gore. So
Yeah,
yeah,
agreed. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, and a lot of people are speculating that Chris Hemsworth character, this might be the end of the line for him. I don't think so. I don't think that
no.
happens yet. I think if they're going to have a scenario where he gets killed, that they will save that for Kang. Because that there's no better way to emphasize your new big bad. If you're planning on killing him off, that's how you do it.
What that I think that's your Hail Mary right there. My gosh,
That Kang
that's
will kill Thor.
yeah.
If that happens, I want full credit on your podcast for it.
I will give you full credit uh unless I accidentally forget and then I take credit for it. That's my own idea. Uh
Yeah, I'm calling it now, folks. Kang will kill Thor because, in my mind, this is one of the very few people who's stood toe to toe with Thanos more than one time and lived,
yeah.
and even technically won the first time it happened.
Yeah.
This is a guy that fought Thanos 1v1. One of the most powerful characters in the MCU. One of the very few people in the very few heroes in Infinity War that did well. Uh, as far as win loss goes. He was racking up some kills in Wakanda. At the end there. Yeah, I mean, he's this character where it's almost like Thanos, when they had him beat the bejesus out of the Hulk in the beginning of Infinity War to say, this is the guy right here. That told, that was the ultimate statement about him. And I think that they will use that. They will have Kang kill Thor. So
And
that's my Hail Mary.
and I guess if I could just give a little bit of credence to that is I know that Chris Hemsworth says he wants to continue on this Thor, like he himself would love to keep it going. He said as much, but by that same token, I don't know what else you do with the character. As much as I hate to say that, because he's Thor, but I
Well, he's
mean,
going on like his ninth because he's going to be in Guardians 3.
yeah,
So he's going on like his ninth MCU appearance at this point. It may be
right,
more than that. I mean, it's just a lot. And
hmm
I'm a huge fan of his on-screen portrayal of him in 8 of those 9 appearances.
yeah,
So there we are.
same.
Um, anything else that you want to touch on about like any other speculation about what we might see from Marvel on Disney Plus Day before we move into Star Wars?
The only thing I might want to add on to that is I think that we may get a tad bit more information than expected on Armor Wars. I think that Armor Wars will be one that they'll put a little bit more focus on, because I think that that one is going to be a real kind of a sleeper hit than anything else. So I'll say look out for Armor Wars because yeah, they're going to bring some heat for that one.
I'm very excited for that.
Yeah,
Um, I think a lot of us are excited for Justin Hammer to come back. Uh,
I hope that have they confirmed that? I don't think
I
so, right?
want to say that it's one of those things where it's like it's all but confirmed.
Uh-huh. That would be amazing.
So,
It'd be
uh,
perfect. There's no Tony Stark. He can claim that he's the best arms maker or whatever.
yeah.
It'd be fantastic.
And then Rhodey's interactions with him were always gold on screen. So,
Yes.
yeah, I'm hyped for it.
hmm
So yeah, man, let's talk some Star Wars because
Yes.
their slate is not as in depth as the MCU slate, but so many of these things in it have these huge implications. I'm really excited for this, and in just a second we'll talk about why. But the next thing we have coming out as far as a Disney Plus show, new from Star Wars, is going to be the Andor show. Now, I have to admit, this one I'm not really that much into because The only character I really loved from Rogue One was Vader, right? Uh, I was cheering when the heroes died in that movie. I don't really like any of the rebels for the most part in it. There's just I'm not a huge fan of those characters, so I was like, the fact that we're gonna have a show that's sort of like a backstory for Cassian Andor, which I thought was like a side character. You know, like
Mm,
K2SO, the droid was kind of the star there. So
right.
theoretically, he should be in it, right? Which would be great.
Yeah. Uh, I got to be honest. I feel very similar to Rogue One as you. Uh, but even though I've only seen Rogue One and a half times. But over the years, I don't know why I have kind of softened to it and to his characters. Um, I mean, if nothing else, I'm certainly going to check this show out with you know holding no bias against it. Um, again, it's mostly because uh and it's weirdest decision for me to say. Honestly, I just not thought about this, but Disney Plus Star Wars series have not let me down. And not saying that the MCU shows have let me down, but I've had moments where I could have taken or leaving it. Whereas with the Star Wars stuff, I have absolutely wanted to take it all.
Right. Yeah. I,
Mm.
you know, I to quote a wiser man than me, the thing about going balls deep is that you can't go any deeper than that. And I think that that's the approach that John Favreau and Dave Filoni have taken with all the Disney Plus Star Wars stuff. They confirmed that Mon Mothma is going to be in the movie, so this is going to be almost like a
Jesus.
backstory for her. Super excited for that. If you don't, if you're like a casual Star Wars fan, you don't immediately recognize that name. She's the lady that kind of gives them the plan in Return of the Jedi for how they're going to assault the second Death Star.
Mm.
She's in Rogue One. She's in Clone Wars. She's in Rebels. She was a senator in the Galactic Senate that broke off and was like the main person that really worked with Bail Organa to get the rebellion going. So she's a very interesting character and one of those people that's kind of like Boba Fett, where the fandom has always been super interested in her and like her
Right.
backstory. Um, with Cassian Andor, we know there's probably not going to be but one season of this because we know he dies. You know, he dies on Scarif at the hands of the Death Star. So you know, it is what it
Or
is.
or does he?
No, he
Oh,
dead.
okay. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's dead.
Yeah.
This is not.
He's
This is
yeah.
not. This is not Marvel Comics. He's dead. Um, okay, but we gotta. Without further ado, we have to move on to the thing that I'm dying over, right? So from the moment that I that they announced we were gonna get an Obi-Wan Kenobi show, uh, absolutely losing my mind over it, right?
I love your notes for this, by the way.
Yeah, so in the outline, it's all pretty like brief. I just kind of go down the list, but under the Kenobi show, it says trailer please God. Um, you know, here's the thing. All right, so Ewan McGregor's Obi-Wan is the best Obi-Wan. He's it's between him and Ahsoka for my favorite Star Wars characters. I'm super into both of them. I God, I hope we get a trailer. I mean, I would just love that more than anything if we got a trailer. Um, and Hayden Christensen has been confirmed as Vader for this.
And that's big. That's I mean, it's weird for me because like of course Ewan McGregor returning as Obi-Wan, that's everything, like that's epic. But for some reason, hearing Hayden Christensen returning as Vader, I guess subconsciously that felt even bigger. And I guess that's because I never expected that to happen. I could see Ewan returning. I never thought that Hayden would return.
Yep, and Hayden Christensen coming back, and here's the burning question for everyone: will they encounter each other? Because the lore is not definitive on this. Um,
Oh,
and let me go on my traditional spiel here, where I explain the fuck out of some Star Wars stuff. Uh,
please.
so there are various canon novels where they talk about the fact that they've never encountered each other since Mustafar, where
Hmm.
he cut his arms off, right? However, um, when they encounter each other on Mustafar, like Anakin hasn't really transformed into Vader yet, right? And there's not a whole lot of Obi-Wan really trying to turn him back at that point. But in Return of the Jedi, when Luke encounters Vader, when he surrenders himself over to the Empire, um, Luke says that there was still good in Vader and that he felt it, right? And Vader says the line to Luke. He says, "Obi-Wan once thought as you do." Okay, well, how does he know that then if they never encountered each other after he turned to Darth Vader? And so there is a room there in the story for them to have another encounter between, episode 3 and episode 4.
Okay, so let me ask you this: do you think that Dave Filoni and John Favreau, do you think that they can find a classy way to work in that encounter that doesn't feel plotting or muddled? And if we do get that, do you think that it will be for rule of cool and nothing more than that?
I think that what's going to happen is, so let me give you what I want,
Hmm.
and then Filoni and Favreau usually will exceed that, right? So what I would like is one, maybe two times throughout the show, I would like a flashback sequence of him and Anakin during the Clone Wars as Master and Padawan, right? Um, because we don't actually see a ton of that in the movies.
It's true.
We get just a little bit of it, and then they're separated for most of episode 2, and they're separated for most of episode 3. Um, and but in Clone Wars we just got so much of that, and of course Clone Wars being Dave Filoni, 101, I think we will get some key scenes from that. Maybe an Ahsoka Tano cameo in that. I would just lose my mind. I mean, I'm already going to be ruining whatever clothes I'm wearing during this show. So I mean that would just be over the top. You may need to send people to check on me. Um, but here's the other thing too on the other side of that. I don't think that they do this show and don't have these two encounter each other. I just don't think that's possible. So to answer your question, yes, I think they will do it in a way that is meaningful. Um, but I don't know how you set it up and don't lead Vader directly to Luke.
Hmm.
So
And I mean, honestly, if it were in the hands of other creators, then I'd be worried. But I have nothing but hype for this.
yeah, agreed.
And,
I'm over the moon about it.
I am no god in no way, shape, or form, but I do strongly feel we will get a trailer for this.
And I think the internet will collapse upon itself.
Hmm.
I,
Yeah, the internet will. It doesn't matter what you're doing. The internet will let you know immediately if there's a trailer.
it could literally be this. It could literally be just Darth Vader like walking on like in like a Star Wars setting, and then it could just be Ewan McGregor going, "Hello there," and then that they could cut it off right there, and then the people would go completely ape shit.
It'd be the highest view thing ever.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Um, yeah. It's gonna be incredible, and they have the option here to put a ton of cool Clone Wars lore into this.
Oh.
If they're gonna do flashbacks, they could do a lot of they could do some General Grievous stuff.
Hmm.
I mean, there's just a lot, man. I mean, if you watch Clone Wars, like, Obi-Wan kills Grievous in episode 3, but it's like Grievous would have liked to have been killed by literally anyone else because they fight over and over and over again, and Obi-Wan bests him like every time. He
See
really
that?
fucking hates Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Well, that's hilarious. Then you're like just considering the films, like
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
that's yeah.
So, yeah. That being said, let's talk about probably the most. I mean, it's hard to say Kenobi's not the most hype thing, but nothing since Episode 3 came out has garnered the love and adoration of the Star Wars fan base. And hell, you know what? This may or may not be a hot take. I'm gonna say that nothing since Empire Strikes Back has been universally loved by Star Wars fans like the Mandalorian series.
I think that's fair. I actually, yeah, that is definitely fair. Um, and like if amongst the gaming community, I mean, obviously there's KOTOR, which I think was universally loved by Star Wars fans who are also gamers. But outside of that subset, yeah, Mandalorian has reunified, I think, any kind of splintering Star Wars fans that were out there.
Yeah,
Uh,
agreed.
Um, and I think a lot of people, myself including, are really wondering what does a season 3 look like? And do you think that we get less Grogu in this because he's now technically not been yeah, he's technically been written out for all, practical definitions.
I think we don't get any Grogu until maybe the end.
Mm.
I really think that this season is going to be focused on them trying to reestablish Mandalore. Um, this could be a spoiler, so fast forward 30 seconds or whatever your podcast player will let you do. But they have already put out a casting call for like 75 people in Mandalorian armor. If they need 75 real actors for a scene, we're gonna see a giant battle with Mandalorians versus someone.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
So and really a Siege of Mandalore 2 is really the only thing I can think of because Siege of Mandalore is already a incredibly famous Clone Wars storyline from the 7th season. But after the Empire took over, they raised the planet. They haven't really confirmed in lore 100% what happened to Mandalore. It's all kind of rumors and myths within the universe, which I think is smart because that way they can do what they want in the show without it, having to retcon things. So I think this season really is going to focus on the lore of the dark saber, the lore of Mandalore, and really establishing, building Mandalore back up as a planet and a power in the galaxy.
That's actually I think that's probably one of the best approaches that this season can take. Um, it puts me at ease. Like obviously I feel like I was gonna love Mando season 3 regardless of what they did. Uh but I feel like for maybe even more so the general fan base, I was really worried because Baby Yoda, Grogu, like he's such a big part of that show and of like that passionate fan base. And so I was really wondering like how do they keep or build upon like that fan base while taking away something that really brought so many people a lot of joy.
Well,
But
and let's not
yeah.
forget either that they are building to a giant like crossover between sort of these different products that are coming out. Whether they're going to do like so Mando season 3 for instance, Book of Boba Fett,
Mhm.
the Ahsoka TV show, Rangers of the New Republic. If we end up still getting that, we'll talk about that in a minute. So they are building to like a big crossover event type thing. So maybe we start to get the seeds of that in this season
Mm,
of Mando because it makes sense to build it in the most popular of the shows.
yeah, that's true.
Um, I want to switch gears a little bit and talk about and this is where it's like Disney's lost all faith in Kathleen Kennedy, right? Deservedly so. There's only one Star Wars. Can you believe this? The last Star Wars movie came out in 2019. We're at the end of 2021. There's one Star Wars movie,
Yeah,
and it is like there's nothing. And that's Rogue Squadron, which is supposed to be directed by Patty Jenkins. A lot of
that's
people are
right.
excited for this. I think this goes one of two ways, man. I think this goes either they don't say anything about it and it's soft canceled, or they come out and just blow us away with a trailer right off the rip.
Yeah, I remember hearing about Rogue Squadron, geez, ages ago now. But it has kind of been radio silence. And I also remember hearing that Patty Jenkins was attached to it.
Yeah,
Um,
we've got nothing.
yeah, yeah. Um, and I hate to like kind of ride the safe bet, but maybe the safe bet is they mention it. We get like a title card for it, and then they kind of keep it moving. I don't know, man. Because you're right, we haven't really heard anything on this. I don't think that they're gonna cancel it though. I'll put my hat in that. I don't think it's canceled.
They're really hanging their hat on Patty Jenkins' Star Wars movie. I mean, that's obviously got some clout to it, deservedly so. I'd love to see what she could do with it, but we'll see. It's just
Mhm.
we're kind of out there where it's like I think there's a lot of interest in a Rogue Squadron movie. The video games are very popular. People
Right.
love space battles. I mean, we don't get a lot of that. Miraculously, we don't get a lot of that in AAA cinema. We just don't.
Yeah, yeah, that is true. And I
The
guess my
most we get
my
is
own.
space chases, and we're all tired of that shit.
If I never see another space chase again, it'll be too soon. But my only concern about Rogue Squadron is this: I do like Patty Jenkins as a director. I think that she is very capable. Um, I do worry about the company she keeps in Kathleen Kennedy, and I think that maybe that can introduce some elements that or bring out the worst parts of Patty Jenkins in terms of what she can do behind the director's chair.
I think anything with Kathleen Kennedy attached to it is probably doomed, but I really think that she's going to have some oversight now. I think there will be more people. Like I think they'll probably bring in John Favreau and maybe even Dave Filoni and say, "Hey, what do you think about this? Should we go in this direction?" At least that's what I'm hoping. Um, yeah, we'll see. Uh,
Yeah.
but I don't think I don't know, man. I haven't heard anything. It's been complete radio silence. Maybe we get it starts filming in January or something like that.
Right.
Um, moving on, so we're going back to Disney Plus here. This is obviously something that I am ridiculously excited about. Ahsoka, starring Rosario Dawson, she's getting her own show. Dave Filoni's the showrunner, of course, because this is his character that he created, and I don't would not trust anyone else with Ahsoka Tano. Um, I am hyped beyond belief for this. We know that Thrawn is going to be the bad guy. If you aren't familiar with Thrawn, um, I would encourage you to read either the canon or non-canon Thrawn trilogy. Both of them, actually, there's more than a trilogy. Actually, I think in the non-canon expanded universe stuff. Timothy Zahn, who is like the guy for Star Wars books, um, he did an amazing Thrawn trilogy. It's easily the most popular thing from the expanded universe before the sequel movies were made. It's a much better story than they did in the Disney sequel movies. How could it not be? But Disney actually brought him back to do a canon Thrawn trilogy that is official. They introduced Thrawn in Rebels, and if you're not familiar with this character, I think he's probably one of the most intriguing Star Wars villains of all time because he is a Grand Admiral in the Empire, and he is also a Chiss, which means he's not a human. And one of the kind of central things from the Empire that we don't get a lot of in the movies is the Empire is like super racist. They are 100% like pro-human, right? So in order for someone to be so brutal and like just consistently just awful to impress Vader and Palpatine with their ruthlessness to rise to the rank of a Grand Admiral. I mean, he's the only non-human Grand Admiral in the history of the Empire. Um, so and it's purely from his ruthlessness and his cunning. And they've kind of intricately designed it so he's conveniently gone when the original trilogy happened. But let me tell you this: if Thrawn had been there during the Rogue One and A New Hope stuff, it would have gone very fucking differently.
It- so basically, Thrawn is like the Clayton Bixby of Star Wars, like Clayton Bixby, the first black white supremacist, like so racist towards black people that he was somewhat accepted to a degree, and
I
then we have Thrawn, who who said he's not human, but he's so ruthless that even like the Empire was like, we gotta like.
Yeah, I don't know if he like participates in the racism to the extent that Clayton Bigsby did, but yeah, I mean it's that thing is like Thrawn is kind of like he's just brutal. He's brutal, ruthless. He's that guy that you do not want to mess with as far as because he's ruthless, but he's cunning. He's incredibly intelligent, and that's a dangerous combination. For a Star Wars villain or for any villain.
Right,
Look at Thanos.
right.
And
he
I mean,
he won.
right, exactly. And I think that Thrawn is such an interesting character for them to be bringing in as a villain here. Um, it it brings in the uh, the idea that they probably would have Ezra Bridger from Rebels join the live action shows as well, because of the way Rebels ends, which I won't give away here. It's very implied that he also would be in this show if Thrawn is going to be
Hmm.
in it, and I think that Thrawn, if they're going to do that big bad, right? If they're going to do that crossover event where it's like we have to bring everybody we have together to take down this guy, Thrawn is it. Thrawn is their Thanos.
Oh, so that's epic. And I remember you telling me about him. I believe on the Mandalorian season 2 review, you talked about him there too. And I mean, yeah, like with an enemy like that, with a threat like that, it sounds like he's worthy of it. And I really want to see what he's all about. And I will say this also about you. In another life, you had to have been like some kind of salesman, because I have been actively trying to avoid buying the Star Wars comic books, because that's like a whole nother realm that I have to go down. But you make it tempting, man. I'm not gonna lie, to kind of delve into that other world, because there's I know that there's actually several that he is heavily featured in,
Yeah.
but I
When
can't take that chance.
2015, when they started making all that stuff canon and they brought it under Marvel's like publishing arm, Vader won, man. If you pick that up, you won't be able to put it down. I'm gonna go ahead and tell you now.
Ah,
Because they really go into like a lot of the stuff that Vader and Palpatine got up to after the Empire was formed, and it doesn't go well for anyone else other than the people I just mentioned. So yeah, I mean, I to say I'm hyped for this Ahsoka show is, like I said, my two favorite Star Wars characters are both getting their own Disney Plus shows. As a fan, I'm over the moon. So yeah, we'll see. But it's too early for footage. But if we get a Thrawn casting, I would be happy with that.
mm.
Uh,
Let me ask you this:
Benedict
you have
Cumberbatch has already said he will not do it because he doesn't want to put on blue face paint every day.
well, you kind of beat me to the question I was going to ask. I was going to ask you, who would you like to see casting the role?
Oh man, it sucks because a couple of people I'd love to see cast in it we can't get because they already play other Star Wars characters, but that's tough. You putting me on the spot here. Who would be such a great here's my Hail Mary.
Hmm.
Chris Evans.
Holy, oof!
Like just you've seen Ryan
Uh,
Johnson.
not Knives Out. Yeah.
Knives Out. You seen Knives Out. Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, you could tell like I think he could do it. I think he could do
He.
it.
You know what? If nothing else, I think that if offered, he would take it for the challenge. And so, yeah, that. Oh my gosh, yeah.
Yeah, he would be really incredible for it. There's a lot of options though. I mean, there's just uh, it's got to be somebody with a really strong, on-screen presence. Um, what is the guy that plays Mordo in Doctor Strange?
Yes. His name I can't pronounce. Chwetel. I feel bad. I can't pronounce his name.
Yeah, yeah. Well, yeah.
Yeah.
So him.
Uh-huh.
That guy would be incredible for it as well. He would do such a good
Mm.
job with it. Um, Obviously, like uh, they'll never get him, but John David Washington would
Oh,
be. I mean, but I think he would be amazing at like anything. So
also true.
yeah,
Yeah.
uh, yeah. So that being said, yeah, that's my top three right there. We'll see what we get, but any of those three would be incredible.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah, whoever they go with, I think the casting will be top notch. So,
it's got to be, yeah.
yeah.
Um, okay, so kind of like we did with Marvel, so we got a couple of, kind of far out items here. Rangers of the New Republic is up in the air because, as we know, that was supposed to be like a Cara Dune kind of New
Right.
Republic show, and with her being canned by Disney, it's up in the air whether this is still a go or not. Um, so I don't know if we get anything on that. Maybe we get a confirmation of whether it's still in production.
Yeah. They had to have a lot to kind of think about with this one, whether it be do we recast, do we replace, like what do we cancel? So there's probably a lot they had to think about with this show here, and honestly, this is the one that I like knew the least about in terms of even like subject matter, like what it was going to be about. I knew that Kara was going to be in it, but other than that, I didn't really have any idea.
Yeah. I don't know what we get on that. We'll just kind of have to see. One of these shows that I'm the most interested in is actually Star Wars Acolyte, which is supposed to be a like a High Republic era
Hmm.
thing, and so this is supposed to be like Yoda as like High Republic era is like 600 years before um A New Hope. So this is like Yoda in his prime, right? So he's like a Jedi Knight. He's not a master yet. Um, yeah, so I don't know if in his prime is the right word, but like, he's like young.
Right.
And I think it would be super interesting to see that time period, and it's supposed to be about like the reemergence of the Sith. Um,
Oh.
because obviously like that wasn't, while Palpatine was the big change in the galaxy, his master Darth Plagueis was somebody that we don't see in the films, but he was like continuing on the Sith lineage. So the Sith were still around for a long time. They were just in the shadows. And so
Right.
Acolyte is supposed to be like the original like reemergence of the Sith after they had been gone for like so long.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, so that's cool as hell. I really like dig the kind of lore like that, and like I think that could be fucking dope.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, one of the things that's missed in the movies is like, Palpatine is already the chancellor. He already had
Hmm.
basically all the power you could want. So why does he want to, start the Empire and destroy the Jedi? Well, one of the things they don't tell you about is that the Jedi have tons and tons of Sith artifacts and holocrons in the temple. And
Oh.
that's one of the things that Palpatine wanted. That's one of the reasons why he wanted to exterminate them, is because it's not just Jedi shit they have locked up in their massive vault of like all the most ancient Force related things in the universe. There's tons of Sith secrets in there. Um, and yeah, I mean that's one of the things that he wanted. So I think, this could kind of tie into a lot of that kind of lore and that kind of stuff.
Yeah. See, that's interesting there, and we don't have any kind of tentative release date yet or anything, do we?
We don't. I would hope we get it in 2023, and I think the most we might get on Friday is maybe some casting. You know,
I'll settle for that. Like I have a choice.
right, right. Speaking of casting, last thing I want to talk about here, and we'll wrap up. Well, two things. But there's a Lando show. Lando is confirmed, but the big question here is, do we get Donald Glover? Because if we don't,
Yeah.
then I don't really want it. Just being honest.
um. Yeah. So is Billy D out of the question for this entirely?
See, here's what I would, and I kind of pitched this like a year ago when they announced this. I want both. I want them
Oh.
to almost do like a How I Met Your Mother type setup, where I want Billy D. Williams sitting here like talking to the camera, and be like, well, and that went absolutely terribly, and then like they fade into the Donald Glover. I think that would just be off the chain, dude.
That would be amazing. I mean, Disney has so much power, reaching money. I don't know if they can get Donald Glover to commit to something like this.
Yeah, I mean, he did Solo. He did a Solo movie.
He did, but it's just the fact that like I feel like he was down for like a movie,
Right.
something that like this that requires a little bit more of a commitment. Um, I don't know.
He's hard to get a hold of for that amount of time, man. We're supposed to get
Yeah,
2 more seasons of Atlanta, and you see how long
I
that's been.
know. Yeah,
Like in the time since season 2 of Atlanta came out, I've moved to Atlanta
right.
and been here 3 years.
And Paperboy became an Eternal.
Yeah, I really love him in everything that he's in.
Oh
Uh,
yeah,
he's become one of my favorites. So
he's
uh,
got so much range. Yeah,
definitely my favorite Eternal by far, like hands down, no questions asked. Um,
that's actually very fair. Yeah.
we would be remiss if we didn't bring this up, but I think if we don't hear any mention of it this coming Friday, then that means the Ryan Johnson bullshit trilogy is officially not a thing anymore because we haven't heard anything about it. So they announced that right after Last Jedi came out, kind of before the backlash.
Hmm.
And we haven't heard anything about it in several years. And I think if we don't hear anything about it Friday, then it's dead in the water, along with the uh, Dan and Dave trilogy.
Yeah, well, the trilogy that never got off the ground at all.
Yeah,
But yeah, the Ryan Johnson trilogy, man. I've already considered that DOA. I didn't think that there was any plans for them to really bring that to fruition. You know, Disney is not in the market of bringing negative press. You know, uh, so I think that they respectfully quietly swept that under the rug. And I think that I think that they're breathing down Kathleen Kennedy's neck, saying, "Don't you screw anything else up for us." I think that, I think that Ryan Johnson's going to move on to other things. He's going to do Nas Out too, right?
he
So
is. Yeah.
yeah, which I think is much more suited to his talents than a Star Wars trilogy.
You mean a movie about completely one-dimensional characters?
I was referring to like the murder mystery aspect as well.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay. I'm
yeah,
sorry.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, okay. I'm picking up what you're laying down. I just, I was confused there for a minute. And I will say that I love Knives Out. I am a big fan of it. I've seen it a couple times. It's a great movie.
It took
Um,
you a while to watch it.
it did because it's directed by Ryan Johnson. But that movie explains everything about why he can't do Star Wars. It's because he doesn't know how to direct characters. He knows how to direct caricatures. And in that
Hmm.
movie, which is a clue type murder
Yep.
mystery, caricatures are what you want. You want one dimensional layered characters. Girl who throws up when she lies, rich bitch, family member. You want people, you want those like just kind of, okay, this is who this person is, and we don't have to explain anything else. But you can't do that for 7 hours in the theater. You just can't do it. And nobody wants that. If you look at all those characters, they were mined for more than they were worth well before the last movie even was announced in the sequel trilogy. Not to end this on a rant about the sequel trilogy, but I mean, what is there for any of those characters? You haven't heard anything. I mean, it would be like Marvel coming out with a group of brand new characters, running them into the ground, not writing them out, and it's just like, okay, we're just done with them. I mean, can you even fathom them doing that?
Well, they're doing an Eternals too, right?
Yeah. Well, not
So
not not necessarily. They've said that
they
it doesn't necessarily. I don't think it's going to be called Eternals 2. I think it's going to
right.
be under the something else, maybe the Black Knight and the Eternals or something like that.
Yeah. I was just joshing. But no, I do get what you're saying. But I also I think that it's time to move on from that anyway.
It is.
I don't. Yeah, I think that the fan base has kind of had their fill. I feel like even people who mostly enjoyed the previous trilogy we got, I think that they've had their fill of that, and that they're ready to move on as well. So,
Yeah, I don't think anybody's clamoring for those characters. But that being said, man, we're 2 hours in. This has been so much content.
oh yeah.
I can't wait to see what they do. I think I'm more hyped than when we started talking about this.
Yes, bro, because just thinking about all the possibilities now, and there's so much that they can do. And you know what else is just crazy is that even with like the two of us here discussing this, there's probably some huge bombshells that they're going to drop that we're not even thinking about.
Yeah, that we're not even on the same page with them, and and this is all. Here's the important thing. Everything we've talked about in our speculative section, except for like our us talking about maybe them doing a Return of Jafar. These are all announced projects. Like,
Right,
this
right.
isn't even counting what new stuff they might announce that we haven't even thought about. So,
Yes.
yeah, there's a ton, man. Anyway, I want to thank you for joining me. Listen, if you guys are still listening to this far in, absolutely, there's no reason you shouldn't be tuning into Superhero Homies podcast. It's tons of good content like what we've been talking about here today. I listen to it religiously from day one. Definitely check it out. And Ace, thanks for being back on here with us.
Man, as always, it's a pleasure being on here, brother. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. And to you guys still listening, thanks for tuning in. This has been an Evolved preview.